Hey, it's Matt De Fede from Realty Executives Elite Homes in Nutley, New Jersey. And if you're a new home buyer, you're probably asking the question, how much money do I actually need to buy a home in Nutley, New Jersey? Stay tuned and I will let you know. So you're a new home buyer and you're looking to buy a home in Nutley and you're trying to figure out how much money do I actually need to buy a home? It's a great question. And it's a question that a lot of new home buyers don't quite understand. Um, Depending on what you're buying, if your price point or your price range, it also depends on what type of financing that you're doing. So there's two types of financing. There's FHA financing, and there's also conventional financing. Typically, with conventional financing, you need about 20% down. I've seen it go as low as 10% down as well. FHA financing, you can go down to, I've seen it as low as 3%. But the problem with that is you're going to have to pay private mortgage insurance. They call it PMI insurance. And that can raise your monthly mortgage significantly by hundreds of dollars. So then you have a question of qualifying. So what winds up happening is the first thing that new home buyers do when they're buying a home in Nutley, they usually go online, they go to some website, they start searching, they look for homes, and they contact an agent. That's really not the best way to handle it. The best way to handle it is, number one, talk to a mortgage person. Let them go through your finances. Because remember, when you're buying a home, it's not only the price of the home, but you also have to think about the taxes on that home. So if your taxes are $12,000 a year, that's $1,000 a month that you have to add to your principal and your interest. So you have to take that into account. The other thing that most new home buyers don't realize is that there is this thing called closing costs. You have to pay your closing costs. Now, closing costs are your title insurance, any prepaid that's on your mortgage, like they want you to escrow a certain amount of month's taxes or anything like that. Excuse me. Then you also have your attorney fees, which run about $1,500 around here. Title insurance, which runs about $2,000 to $3,000. So it adds up. So a typical purchase of like buying a home for $350 with an FHA loan, you're probably going to have to come out at least $12,000 to $15,000 out of pocket. Because it encompasses your deposit, your closing costs, and any other fees that you need to pay. Especially if you're buying in like Cambridge Heights or the Regency or one of the condo complexes, because you have additional costs on top of that. There's probably an application you have to pay for. Don't forget about your appraisal. You have to pay for an appraisal. The average appraisal around here runs about $400 to $500, somewhere in that range. Again, typical attorney about $1,200 to $1,500, somewhere in that range. And then your prepaids, whatever they are. My advice would be to speak to, two or three different mortgage reps and see what kind of programs they could fit you in. Because you may be able to do a loan, a 10% down loan, conventional, and you may be able to save yourself that PMI money if you go conventional. It all depends. Townhomes and condos typically right now are not approved for FHA loans. They're very far and few in between. So you have to buy conventionally if you're looking like in Essex Park and Cambridge Heights or Sleepy Hollow or any of those complexes that I mentioned around town. You have to go conventional. And you could do it typically with a 10 or 20% conventional loan. FHA, single family home. Now don't forget, if you buy a home in a complex, not only do you have to add the taxes, but you have the HOA fees. Those may be several $100s per month. So if your principal and interest on your loan is $1,000 a month, but then you have $300 in HOA fees and add another $300 for taxes, your payments are at $1,600 a month. So there's a lot that goes into purchasing a home and how much you need. It's good also to have some money set aside for a couple months mortgage payments just in case you lose your job or your source of income for a couple months. So if it was me and my mortgage was $2,000 a month, I would have at least $6,000 put aside for emergencies. That's number one. All right. Number two, the first thing new home buyers start doing is they want to renovate. Take your renovation slow. Don't do everything at once, especially if it's a home you can live with for a while. Take your time because it becomes it becomes a burden, or it becomes too engrossing at the present moment. Because your first time buying a home, there's going to be a lot of hurdles and hoops you got to jump through. And the problem with that is you're going to get advice from everybody you ask, even people that never bought a home before. They will give you advice on how to buy a home. That's the best. There's really only three people you should be listening to when you're buying a home. One is your realtor, one is your attorney, and one is your accountant if you have one. If you don't have an accountant, listen to your realtor and listen to your attorney. All right? And the other thing you want to do is choose your attorney wisely. Make sure you use an attorney that is a real estate attorney and knows the local area. Don't use your Uncle Jeb from South Jersey who does wills all day. That's not going to save you. Spend the $1,500 and get an attorney that actually knows real estate and does it all the time. All right? We can always help you with that also. All right? I think that about covers it. I know there's a lot of questions that people have about it. And what you can do is the number below here. You can text me at 862-228-0554. And that's a wrap for how much money you need to buy a home in Nutley. I'm Matt De Fede with Realty Executives Elite Homes. Have a great day.